with no further ado, welcome to the show, Jeff Miller. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Matt and Robert.
Good to
Hey,
see you.
thanks for being
Yeah.
on. I know your time's limited and we have a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. The film everyone's talking about, Popeye the Slayer Man, which I have seen twice thus far. And I have to tell you, it's one of those films that you can't believe you're watching it, and then when you see it, it's actually happening. Like Popeye, the beloved children's thing, pipe and all, um, is a brutal, murdering madman. And I'll tell you what, Jeff, if you took Popeye out of the equation and just made that, some kind of defuncto, I know what you did last summer s kind of scary seaman, it still would have worked. But the fact that it's Popeye, mind blown. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Glad you
So
enjoyed it.
tell me, how did being a producer on the film, tell us about, what can you tell us about Papa the Slayerman? How did that whole come about?
So there was a team of Robert Michael Ryan, who also directed it, and Kyle Carvin, who was a producer on it, and myself. We had done two other movies. One was called Dolls. One was called Ouija Witch. So Ouija Witch we made a couple years ago, and anyway, probably shortly after that, I mean, obviously we realized that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was a big hit, and we're like, oh, what other public domain characters are coming up? I had done a couple public domain character movies. I did a Paul Bunyan horror movie.
Yes, love that.
We reinvented Paul
2012, right?
Bunyan.
It was like
Yeah, it came
2013,
out in 2013, but yeah, we
yeah.
shot. I had a festival premiere 2012, and then it came out 2013, Sci-Fi Channel, and that was on Netflix for a couple years. So we reinvented Paul Bunyan as like a 15-foot tall kind of slasher
Oh,
killer. So
Axe Giant. Oh, I've seen that.
Axe
When
Giant, The Wrath of
that
Paul Bunyan. Yes.
that's I'm not going to interrupt you, but that sort of set off that trend too. When that came out, people were like, "Wait, you can do that?" And it's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
it's done." Go ahead. I'm
That,
sorry.
I was going to
Yeah.
ask, yeah, when Popeye became, is that recent public domain
Yeah,
or is it?
so Popeye became, yeah, so we were, and I'd done a Nutcracker horror movie, those things I had looked into, like, is this public domain? We can do this, right? Yeah, okay, good, we're safe. So, yeah, after Winnie the Pooh, and that was a public domain, horror movie, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. We're like, what other characters are coming up? I mean, we're not the only ones doing that, I'm sure, but we said, oh, Popeye, well, that could be interesting. So let's kind of work on something. So we started working on ideas, Robert and Kyle and I, and so we brainstormed, and Popeye was born. We came up with some ideas we liked, and then hired a writer, John Doolin, who had written Ouija Witch, and so he crafted a good script that we liked, and we went back and forth a few times and shot the thing. And gosh, almost a year ago. It was like in April of last year when we filmed the movie. So yeah.
It's incredible because the credits, the opening of the film, yeah, I saw the story was by you and the other two gentlemen, and then I was wondering, when you hash out these ideas, did it sort of come to a life of its own when you were doing this, or were you just like, oh, here's X, Y, and Z, and then the writer filled in the gaps? Like how does that process work?
So originally, Robert, again, he's the director. He actually wrote a full script, and we were like, and it was interesting, but we were just like, this might be a little costly to do, and we weren't totally 100% sold on it. It was like it was not Popeye horror movie like we have now. It was a little bit different. So we were like, I don't know about this. So we went in the direction of the movie the way it is now. And yeah, we just came up with a treatment, and we went back and forth. And what we did, I mean, I don't remember how long the treatment was, but it was fairly detailed, several pages long. And then just sent it, gave it to the writer. And then, he'd write a script, and we'd make changes and suggestions. And he gave us two or three drafts, and went from there. And even on set, I mean, we had to change some things because of the location, um, because there was like one kill scene, for instance, that was in the script, and we got the location. We're like, all right, there's no way we can do this, so we had to totally rewrite that scene, basically like 2 days before we started filming. Yeah,
Oh, talk about having no time. It's like, all right,
yeah.
I guess we're doing this. Um, okay, you mentioned location. So the location, and I'm not going to give any. There's no need for a spoiler. I'm not going to give anything away on this episode. Just encourage people to see the film. But I will say the locations are very interesting. You have basically one location, one main location. There's a few, obviously, but the canning factory, the Anchor Bay,
Mhm.
is it Anchor Bay Canning Factory?
Yeah.
Is like perfect. It's scary. It's where was this filmed? Like, how did this all come about with this
So
guy?
we shot in a town in upstate New York. It's called Oneonta, and there was a crew there, people that I had made three other movies with. So we had a good relationship, and we're
Okay.
basically looking for a town that had, or the factory is a main location, obviously. So we were like, we've got to find this factory. And Corey Rowe, who's the head of Otsego Media in Oneonta, he emailed us or called us one day. He's like, I've got the location. It's perfect, and it was a factory. It's a working feed factory in town, and it's on like a pond or something. So we got some good drone shots of it on water, and then but it's obviously it's not on the beach or the coast, but it's on a pond. And so we we got permission to film there. So we would film there because it's a working factory. We would go in. I think their shift would usually end at like 6 p.m. So we would usually go in like 6 p.m. and then have it until 6 a.m. when the workers start coming in.
So it was a
Uh,
functioning factory, like an operational, because
it's a working factory.
it
Yes.
you
Did
nailed it.
they, yeah, do they know what do they have to have, not say script approval, but
Oh
I think
yeah.
about that because when, like, let's say the original Scream High School, once they got a hold of the script, they said, no, that not in our school.
Yeah,
Good
they knew it
call.
was a horror film, but I don't think they ever read the script, or they were just most people when you go outside of LA or New York, most people are happy you're filming something. I mean,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
we're not doing anything too terrible there, but but yeah, most people are fine. They're excited you're filming, but when you're in LA, New York, big cities, you get more of that scrutiny. I think on
Hmm.
well, let me read the script now. We need to approve these things, and it was
But
just a low budget thing. And of course, they're trying to support the community. Corey's a big supporter of Oneonta. He's a hometown kind of a hometown hero there. So they were very supportive. But yeah, we only had, I think we shot there on daytimes during like the weekend, like because it's closed for the weekend. But otherwise, yeah, we had to just shoot around their schedule was part of the deal. And I think there was one or two nights they came in early. They're like, look, we got workers coming in early tomorrow at like 3:30, 4 a.m. So we just had to kind of just wrap early those days. But
did you
yeah.
have the Slayer man come out in costume to the workers and go, "I am what I am"?
No,
Kidding.
no, I don't think he did that. But
There was
it
there's
was a
one
great
thing.
place.
No, that's fascinating, and I feel like one thing that this movie really got right, which I enjoyed, was how much the titular character is in the light. Like he's lit, he's well, you can see the makeup and everything, which is fantastic. I don't know how you did that, but it's not, it wasn't, you didn't rely a lot on shadows or foreshadowing. He was like front and center in a lot of it, and you could actually see him, and it looked great, which
Yeah.
I love because like I wanted to see Popeye. Like that's the
Hmm.
idea. I want to see scary Popeye, and there he is. Was that like a conscious decision to have him? Like, how did the makeup come about of all? How did you create that thing?
So yeah, we wanted to play a lot with shadows. I mean, we knew like most of this movie would take place at night. We wanted to make kind of a typical slasher film formula kind of thing. We knew we weren't reinventing the genre. We were just kind of trying to have fun with the genre by doing putting Popeye in it instead of, Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, and give Popeye an interesting story. But yeah, we wanted to play with shadows. We've gotten a lot of compliments on the cinematography, and that's again Corey Rowe, who's our one of our head guys there in upstate New York. But yeah, Popeye's look was designed by Immortal Masks, a company outside LA, but it's like a custom piece that cost us a lot of money and was designed over like several weeks. Like it went through a serious design phase, um, some fittings with the actor and stuff, and just some changes. We wanted a scar. He has a cool scar down the eye, stuff like that. But yeah, it's a
Yeah,
custom piece that took us a lot of time and money to put together. And then the arms also. The arms were like a piece that was made from some company that the director found. So because we knew, hey, Popeye's got to have these these cool looking arms, and found a company that made
Oh,
something
they
like
were
that. So,
great.
yeah,
If you could
yeah,
imagine, if for folks that haven't seen this, just check out the trailer. That's all you need to see because it nails it. Is
I
Corey
was gonna
Ro
say I haven't seen. I saw the trailer, but the first thing I reminded me some of the Dick Tracy uh,
Oh
evil
yeah.
guys. They're kind of overemphasized look is
yeah.
that's the first thing I thought of, and I thought,
Well,
oh, and then as we know, Dick Tracy will never be in the public domain as long as
Oh,
Warren Beatty has his way with it.
well,
right.
it's interesting you say it because yeah, Popeye's look was we were designing it with the guys at Immortal, and by the way, they do like looks for like Mandalorian and Star Trek. Like they do a lot of big they license the Art the Clown masks and stuff. They do like big stuff, but they were very cool to work with. And I always said, I said, more bigger chin. I kept wanting his chin to be bigger because that's what you remember from Popeye
Oh, his chin was
was
great.
his damn chin is like so big. So I'm like,
You could put a coffee mug on it. It was
I said,
huge.
more chin, more chin. So that was one of my contributions
That's
to
awesome.
the look of Popeye. Yeah.
You remember that too. Is Corey Rowe like your Dean Cundy? Because he was in the Ouija witch film that you did, and there was another one that I remember. Is he like your go-to guy? Because I see his name pop up in your films a
He
lot.
does. He's the cinematographer often when we shoot in upstate New York because yeah, he's got the cameras. He has a media company that he runs, and I think I've done 4 movies up there, and I think 3 of them he was the DP for. Yeah, the cinematographer. So yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Do you? Oh, go ahead, Robert. I'm sorry.
No, no, keep going because I have a question later after looking at some of his posters behind him there. So
Oh, I was going to ask, before we move on, about Popeye's Slayer Man. So this is it reached like number one or number two on, was it Amazon last week? I saw you posted something. People
It
were
was like
responding
number
to it.
2 or number 1 on Fandango at Home, which is formerly
Oh,
Voodoo.
that's huge.
mhm.
Um, and then it's gotten good placement too. I'm told on Amazon, like on a couple of the rails, um, and Apple TV. It's also owned. But yeah,
It,
the
I
one more thing about Popeye's look, I'll just tell you real quick because I think it's a
oh
fun
yeah,
story.
please.
Robert, the director, originally he didn't want Popeye to have a hat, and I was like, well, this is weird because Popeye, the character, the cartoon character, we all remember, he always had a hat, like he had his little sailor hat. And Robert said, well, I see him without the hat. And also, we want to see Popeye's scar on his face and his cool head and stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, but so it was the weekend before we started shooting. I bought like several hats and we tried all these different hats on the on Popeye. And we
Oh,
finally
that's so
found one.
cool.
We're like, all right, this one looks good. I said, okay. And I was kind of like, all right, look, we're doing the hat. We're doing the
You're
hat. We're
doing the
going with
hat.
this hat. Okay, yes, I can live with that hat. But look, he'll take the hat off 2 or 3 times in the movie. So we'll have him take it off, but he's got to have the hat. So I'm glad we did that because it'd be hard for me to imagine Popeye without the hat on. I don't know.
No,
Someone,
I couldn't either.
Yeah, if
I-
you're gonna do it, go all in, and
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what, yeah, and just obviously the outfit, the look, the arms.
yeah.
And as long as I think the arms look better than because we've talked before about Popeye, the Robert Altman film, and I remember Robin Williams. I think they replicated his hairy arms but bigger, which is almost disgusting in a different way. Yeah, I was like, I don't really I need to be that authentic.
Sweet
Right.
Haven.
Yes.
The thing that really gets me with Popeye though, the Slayer Man, is it takes some it takes some turns that I wouldn't expect that aren't what the audience generally would expect, which works very well. So for example, when there's a scene where the kid's trying to get away, Popeye lifts up the car. You would expect him to either already be in the back seat or smash through the windshield, and he prolongs the terror in a lot of these scenes where in a lot of films you would see, okay, jump scare right there, dead. Popeye, like a lot of the stuff he respects the kill and it makes it like a scarier twist. Like the pacing, I guess what I'm trying to say, is very good in that.
Oh,
Were you happy with like that whole aspect of the film?
thank you. Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. I've never heard "respect the kill" you mentioned before. It's an interesting phrase. He
Mhm.
You got to
respects the
respect the
kill.
kills.
Gotta
Respect the
respect the
kills.
kill. So I
Respect the
have to
kill.
use that. I've never heard. Um, that was just an instance of us wanting to show how strong Popeye was, So we're like, look, he's
Oh,
lifting up the back of the car so the guy can't get away. I mean, we didn't put a ton of thought into that other than we wanted a suspenseful scene. And that was just another instance of, look, he's picked guys up. He's like crushed, crushed a head. He's snapped an arm or two, but let's show him actually do something else.
oh
And so,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. But check out Popeye the Slayer Man. We can talk about that as much as you want, but I do want to ask you a question that's been on my mind is that, I mean, you've produced tons of films and you're, a master of your craft. What do you look for when you're producing? Like, is it something grabs your eye, or do you have an idea? Is it the right time, right? Like, how does that process work for you when taking on a new film? I mean,
So I started out as a writer. I wrote a bunch of screenplays before I got into producing. So I'm, kind of at heart a writer. I come up with a lot of ideas. So sometimes these days I don't have as much time to write anymore because I'm doing a lot of producing. But I'll often write a treatment, say several pages of a treatment, and then I'll hire a writer to do a script, and then we'll go back and forth, and I'll often contribute on the script and do a lot of the writing myself. But other times it's, sometimes projects come to me with some elements attached to it. Sometimes things have financing or co-financing attached. They're looking for me to maybe provide a piece or so, or be like a consulting producer. So it all, different ways. Yeah. So they all happen in different ways.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
noticed you. Go ahead, Robert. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask about 12 to Midnight because and I don't know if Matthew's familiar. Is it Robert Bronzi? Is that how you say his name?
Yes. Yes.
And I remember I saw him at a convention once, and you do a triple take because he is the spitting image of Bronson, and it seems like with no effort, he just obviously had the same genes or something like that. But I know it looks like you've done a number of films with him as kind of I'll say Bronson resurrected.
Mhm.
And how did that all come about?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the first one was Death Kiss, because I knew I'd done a movie with the director who had made a previous movie with Robert Bronzi's first movie. And so I knew I was at the booth at AFM, the American Film Market, and a buyer had asked the sales agent, who's a friend of mine, like, what action movies do you have? What low budget, independent action movies do you have? My friend was at a loss for words because he had horror movies, he had westerns, he had sci-fi, but he had almost no straight action. So he really had no movies for this buyer. And that just kind of lit a light bulb, a little light bulb went off above my head. I said, oh, you know what? Death Wish with Bruce Willis is coming out in a few months. It'd be kind of interesting to put this Robert Bronzi guy, that this director I know had worked with, put him in something like that. And so that's kind of how Death Kiss was born. That one did really well, and so from there, yeah, it's just Robert Bronzi's a very cool guy. He's Hungarian. He doesn't live in the U.S., but he's Hungarian. Just a very friendly guy, salt of the earth. So we got along well, and so I think I just shot two more with him in November and December. But
Okay.
yeah, 12 to
Wow.
Midnight is the most recent that's come out. That's on Zumo Play. That's free to watch on Zumo Play and other platforms too, I think, other paid platforms. But yeah, I just wrapped a Western with him called Bury Him Deep, and then an action film called The Caretaker. And both of those will be coming out later this year. Yeah.
Congratulations on all that. That's fantastic.
Thank
When
you.
when you talk about the streaming services, I mean, so much of your work is probably all over the place. Is there one that I mean, it is all over the place, but you probably have to like some get moved to this platform, this and that. Is that as a producer, is this a nonsense thing for you for the industry, or is this better for opportunities from a financial production standpoint? I mean, is it do you reach a broader audience with this? Do you wish it were only theatrical releases? Like how does that,
I mean, I'd love to get bigger
play?
theatrical releases. It's just, we had a small but decent theatrical release for Popeye, but it's just very costly to do theatrical. So unless you have just a really big marketing push behind your movie, a lot of indie movies just don't get the big theatrical release because there's just not the big marketing push, and they end up losing money. So it's just kind of a
Sure.
numbers game. Also, I
Yeah.
mean, physical media too. Like some of my recent movies haven't even come out on DVD or Blu-ray, which is frustrating because I love physical media. Yeah.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir. We talk about that every week. We're all about physical media. I was just
Yeah.
saying before, I just got the Superman collections on VHS. I mean, I know that's
Whoa.
Just not the
retro.
physical media we're usually talking
We
about, but
usually
yeah.
do. We usually get
Oh.
4Ks. It's usually 4Ks we talk about. But yeah, physical media is very important, and I feel like a lot of companies are leaving money on the table when they don't produce that stuff. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Robert's going to laugh at me for this example, but Napoleon, Ridley Scott, is still not on physical media. Like,
There's a
Ridley
reason
Scott,
for
come
that.
on, help
But
me
yeah.
out. Um,
Well, it's hard because obviously I'm a lover of independent films, and then and I feel like they've just been the gap has gotten wider, where you either have tentpole films or just kind of there's nothing in the middle anymore.
Yeah.
And so and sometimes streaming I think is helpful for that, but also it's kind of limiting too. And as you know, as you peruse through Tubi or whatever, there's almost too many catalogs. I was like, I don't even know where to
yeah,
begin on some of these.
Yeah.
So you're smart to kind of pick the ones that will either kind of resonate or kind of have a title or something that will stand out.
Yeah.
good call.
Yeah.
J- Uh, two more questions, Jeff, because I know time's of the essence. You're a busy man. One
Ah,
is that
take your
Bentley and
time.
Popeye. That was yours, right? No, I'm kidding.
Ah.
I saw the New York plate though, and I'm like, that's a pretty sweet ride. Um, being working with and he worked with a lot of big names, Sean Young and the cast from the OC and all. Is there a particular actor or actress that you enjoyed working with above all, or something that stands out in your experiences working on these films?
Robert Bronzi, of course. No.
Bronzy, well, there it is.
It's the
Robert
star, yeah.
Bronzi, there you go.
Bronzy
He's amazing.
sold. Yeah.
So Robert Bronzi, that's my answer. I mean,
Okay.
they've all been very cool. I mean, I've
They've
had
all been cool.
the honor of working with a lot of them. I mean, Denise Richards, I've done a couple movies with. She's very
Yeah.
sweet. So I
Yeah.
like working with Denise. So she was a sweetheart. Um, it was interesting. I was at the Walk of Fame a couple days ago, seeing John Carpenter get his star on the Walk
Mm.
of Fame.
Oh yeah.
And I walked and I was like, you know what? I've worked with an actor. I think I've only worked with one that has a star on the Walk of Fame. I went and got a picture of it while I was there. But Dan Haggerty, who was Grizzly Adams back in the 70s, has a star on the Walk of Fame. And he's in my Paul Bunyan Axe Giant movie. So
That's
anyway,
amazing. That is
uh,
cool.
he had great stories too, by the way. Some of them I can't repeat, but he has some great funny stories. He was a funny guy, Dan Haggerty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I worked with Cuba Gooding Jr. I worked with Stephen Lang, Jean Claude Van Damme, Sean Young, like you mentioned, and Misha Barton, Tara Reid. Yeah, a lot of people.
You have, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah,
and
those
your
stuff are cool.
IMDb, those films are great, and I know there's so many different projects to pick from, but would you ever entertain more sequels to like a Popeye with a Bluto or something like that? Do you try to stick to fresh ideas? I mean, not fresh ideas, but things that haven't
I
been done.
love sequels, so I wish more of my movies had sequels. To be honest, but it's just it's a money thing sometimes. I mean, there's one particular movie I've done that's really done really well. That we're developing a sequel for that. It's called Ouija House, and that one did really well. That had Misha Barton, Tara Reid, Dee Wallace, but no, we'd like to use Bluto, but also one of the problems is I don't think he's public domain. So that was one of the problems you have to look at is even when you're
Oh,
doing a public domain movie, you have to be careful that you don't use a character from that universe who's not in the public domain, and you can't use like certain clothes and hey, like for instance, I was told when they did the Winnie the Pooh horror movie, they couldn't use the red shirt because that was like not public domain yet for Winnie the
oh,
Pooh.
that was like a
So
Disney thing or
yeah,
something.
you have to be careful with that. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, I think like Robert, you mentioned before, a good horror movie is a good horror movie. They're going to stand up, and it doesn't matter if it's public domain or if it's public domain, you want to get sued. But if it's a beloved character that you're taking into a new direction, Jeff, do you think that you're going to see more and more things like this happening, or a lot of filmmakers still reluctant to go down that road of using like a beloved public domain
Yeah.
entity?
I think we'll see more and more of it as more and more of the characters that we grew up with fall into the public domain. because, for instance, in like 8 or 9, I think it's like 8 or 9 years, Superman and Batman will be public
Mm.
domain. So that's going to be very
Wow.
interesting to see what people come up with,
My
Superman and
gosh.
Batman. So I think we'll see more. I mean, I read reviews where people are like, this public domain thing is terrible. This is a fad. It'll be over. I'm like, well,
It's the law. And
people.
there,
I think people said that about slasher films in like 1984, 85, probably.
there you
So
go.
Say
Well,
horror always pays for
yeah,
the most part. So
that's what I think is if you're going to redo something like that or create something like that in terms of public domain, horror is what people want to see. You
yes.
don't want another fantasy tale. You don't want this like you're seeing something so beloved in the exact opposite setting that like zaps your senses. Like it's blows your mind. Like, yeah, make it a horror film. I didn't mean to
Yeah.
cut you off, Robert. If you did, I'm sorry.
no, and it got me thinking. It's like, well, what else is going to be coming into public domain that filmmakers use are kind of scouring, but also you probably just want to keep your cards close before, you want to be the first one out of the gate, to
Yeah.
if you can.
Yeah, you try to, and that's tough these days because everybody's looking and seeing, oh, what falls in a public domain 2026,
Mhm.
2027. What can we get ahead of how do we get ahead of the curve? So yeah, it's not like I'm looking at like my slate and be like, you know what, I'm only going to do public domain horror films from here on out. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm constantly coming up with other ideas and stuff too. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, Popeye was fun. I had a good team behind it, and yeah, so we'll see. I'm sure it's not the last public domain movie that I'll end up doing yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
I
sure.
love it.
And I'm sure there's probably like diamonds in the rough that aren't necessarily at the top of our kind of radar too, but that have probably just good ideas out there that or good characters out there that could to kind of resurrect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the Velveteen Rabbit. Have him spread a plague and make it like a post-apocalyptic stand. Just
Oh
kidding.
wow.
Somebody will do that.
Yeah. Oh,
Corduroy, the bear. Yeah.
Corduroy. Curious George. Yes,
Yeah.
Curious George. Like outbreak. Like he's an outbreak monkey or something. Oh
yes.
And
like
then,
yeah.
in a part
Ground
three,
Zero
you could have,
monkey.
yeah, Corduroy versus the Velveteen Rabbit.
I'm smelling a franchise
Yeah.
here. It's just gonna keep going. Jeff, can you tell us final question? What is next from you, or what we can look forward to? 2025 that you're excited about that you
Yeah,
can talk about?
sure. So I've got this Western that's coming out, looks like in
Oh,
July, called Bury 'Em Deep. It's got Robert Bronzi and Michael Pare from Eddie and the Cruisers and Streets of Fire.
Nice.
oh yeah,
I've done a
that's
couple
huge.
movies. Yeah, yeah.
Bury him
So
deep.
that's coming out. I've got a other kind of top secret little movie coming out in the next couple months. I'll talk about later on social media, but I don't want to say too much now.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
and I wrapped something February with some people that it's like another horror thing. It's not public domain, but it's kind of an interesting kind of twist on a real person. So that's all I want to say about
Oh,
that till it's
Okay.
closer. Yeah,
sure.
I've gotten very paranoid lately because of the whole Popeye, because our title was almost taken by somebody, and so I'm very
Mm.
Oh no.
very sensitive. I'm trying to be overly
Oh,
cautious with
100%. You
some of
have
these
to
Yeah,
be.
no,
things.
you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah,
protect your babies at all costs.
yeah.
Um,
So
but you're the hardest working man in Hollywood, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I just want to
uh,
thank you for coming on and congratulations on all the success, especially with Popeye. I mean, it was great, and I hope everyone gets a chance to see it.
well, thank you, Matt, for having me. And I know you had you mentioned earlier something about locations. I don't know if you had anything final about locations, or if you're just itching to ask me something about locations. If not, that's fine too.
Well, yeah, and Robert, you're the location guy, so please interrupt me and chime in. But in terms of locations, do you like I heard like I think Shyamalan or somebody said it like the hardest thing is just get the location and build everything around it. Do you take into account locations when you're writing the process, or how involved are you in obtaining filming
Well,
locations?
locations, obviously, especially when you're like an indie film where a location could be like almost like a key character in the story, they're very important. So, obviously, the factory in Popeye found a great place, very important. I did a movie called The Russian Bride. We found this beautiful, like, English Tudor mansion in Michigan. The director found it, and it just looked amazing.
Oh wow.
Um, I've shot in the Shawshank prison in Ohio. It's called the Mansfield Reformatory. We did a
Oh
movie
yeah.
there. Amazing location. So yeah, a lot of times it obviously helps the movie. You don't want to just do, hey, six people in the woods get killed by a slasher. It's like
Right. You want to
boring.
switch it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the right location adds to your production that you would also never
yeah,
be able to pay for if you had to build it. And when you're obviously
exactly.
the factory, you would never have, or studios wouldn't even want to, have the budget to build something like that. So,
Right.
but it does become an important, I guess, next to the actors, an
Yeah,
important piece of films and the
yeah.
environment, especially horror.
I think it's important to set yourself apart from other filmmakers by finding these kind of key locations. Yeah, like I'm always on the lookout for whenever I'm talking to other people that want to make a film somewhere. I'm like, what are some cool locations around you that you have access to? Like, again, look for that. Look for things like that that set you apart. Yeah. So
It's
anyway,
great.
Jeff, you
yeah,
said just real quick, you said something to me the last time you were on the show. I doubt you remember because it was so insignificant to you, but it always stuck out to me. I mentioned I had access to a vending machine, and I'm like, I'm going to write a comedy sketch with a vending machine. And you said, well, you got a vending machine, you could also do a horror one, and that could be a horror movie. Like the vending machine gives
yeah,
people it's haunted, and that stuck out, and I'm like, yeah, that's like the tools working right there.
yeah, dude.
Um,
Like it
you
eats
could
your arm. You can't get your arm out. I mean, that's it's probably been used before, but I could totally see that as a horror movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like you can make it about anything. Maybe it dispenses like a needful things kind of whatever. But it was like
yeah,
the thing that you said that I'm like, oh yeah, you could kind of make it, as long as the creative forces are there,
yeah.
it's all about yeah, it was very, very cool. And your films that you produce, you're obviously very talented at what you do, and they all, they pay off, and I hope all good things keep coming. So thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
having me. Yeah.
Yeah, please come back again. And thanks for coming on. And Jeff, is there any social media or website you'd like us to plug? Um,
Sure, yeah. Follow Popeye the Slayer Man. He's on the Instagram at Popeye the Slayer Man. There's a Facebook page, same thing, Popeye the Slayer Man, and of course the movie is on Amazon, Apple TV, Fandango at home, a lot of the other on-demand platforms, and yeah,
and
check it out.
if you rent or buy the movie, buy it 3 times because
Yes,
we got to get those numbers.
you got to
But
get those
Jeff,
numbers up, please.
Matthew will buy the VHS version. So
oh, I absolutely will. I'm waiting for that. No, but the movie really is great, and I really enjoyed it. And thank you for taking the time, Jeff.
Thank you.
great
All
to
right,
meet
Thank you
you.
guys for having me.
you too, sir. Thanks, Jeff.
Take
Talk to you
care.
soon.